Hi, I am Montro Shaha of DAV Model School, IIT Kharagpur, reading in class 8, and this time we are going to discuss about combustion. First, let's start with what combustion is or the definition of combustion. The chemical process in which a substance burns in air or oxygen with the release of heat and light energy is called combustion. You can also more easily define it like uh, when a substance burns with a flame. So, according to that, materials are divided into two groups. First is the materials which, on heating in the presence of air or oxygen, catch fire easily and produce heat and light energy, that is, may undergo the process of combustion, are called combustible materials. Examples are etc. Next, let's look at non-combustible material. It is something which is just opposite to the combustible material. The materials which on heating in the presence of air or oxygen do not catch fire easily and produce heat and light energy. So examples are gold, metals, glass, stone, etc. Next, let's look at the conditions required for combustion. First, the presence of combustible substance. Second, continuous supply of air or oxygen. Third, temperature more than ignition temperature. You should remember that these three are must for the completion of the process of combustion. By removing any of these, the combustion process will not be achieved. Now, ignition temperature, that's a new term, right? So let's learn it. Ignition temperature is the minimum temperature at which a combustible substance comes to a state in which it catches fire. Now, let's look at the types of combustion. There are mainly four types. So, let's look at one by one. First is the explosive combustion. Explosive combustion takes place when a mixture of combustible material and air burns completely in a very short span of time in a closed space. An explosion occurs at that time with the evolution of a large amount of heat, light, and sound energy. I think you get the point. By giving an example, you will understand. Burning of firecracker is an example of explosive combustion. Now let's look at the next one, spontaneous combustion. Some combustible materials burn spontaneously and catch fire on its own even at room temperature. This generally happens because their ignition temperature is too low. Example is burning of combustion of sodium metal, white phosphorus, etc. Next is slow combustion. Slow combustion takes place when the combustion is really slow or moderate rate. This type of combustion is not really complete and happens due to the insufficient supply of air or oxygen. Example is burning of wood, coal, cow dung cake, etc. Next is the rapid combustion. Rapid combustion takes place when a substance burns at a fast rate. Its combustion is called rapid combustion. Example is burning of LPG and CNG. This type of combustion generally occurs in gaseous fuels, and in this case there is a sufficient supply of oxygen. Next is another type, inflammable substances. So this inflammable substances, they catch fire at a very low ignition temperature and can easily catch fire with a flame. Examples are petrol, alcohol, LPG. So you should be very serious with these substances. So, what about controlling this combustion process? So let's look at these three conditions required for combustion once again. You remember I told you that whenever any of these condition is removed, combustion process is not achieved. This principle is used for fire control. Fire control consists either cutting off the air supply or lowering the temperature of the combustible substance so as to bring its temperature below the ignition temperature, or not bringing any combustible substance in fire prone area. So, cutting off air supply. We have seen that sometimes a thick blanket is covered on fire so as to stop it. This cuts off the air supply and the fire is controlled. Lowering the temperature can be done by throwing water on the fire, and combustible substances should never be brought in fire prone areas like gas stations, petrol pumps, etc. Even a spark of a fire can ignite the petrol vapors, so it is very dangerous. Now let's look at a very common fire extinguisher, that is the soda acid type fire extinguisher. This diagram is a typical structure of the soda acid type fire extinguisher. It contains an acid in a glass bottle and solid sodium hydrogen carbonate or sodium bicarbonate outside it. You can see that on striking the fire extinguisher against a hard surface, the glass bottle breaks and the acid mixes with the sodium hydrogen carbonate or the sodium bicarbonate. This reaction takes place at that time. The CO2 gas, being heavier than oxygen, covers the burning object like a blanket. Since the contact between the fuel and the oxygen is cut off, the fire gets controlled. Now, what about fire caused by electric short circuits? At that time, should we use water or soda acid type fire extinguisher? No, we should not, because water is a good conductor of electricity and electricity passes through the water and can result in serious short shocks. So, at that case, we should call a fire brigade. This is the right procedure at that case. So we have come to the end of our video. Hope you liked it. Thank you for watching till end.